Now, passwords we all know about. They've been around forever. They'll probably be around a lot longer than most people want because they're embedded everywhere. Passwords are the least secure type of authentication technology that we have, but it's cheap. They're the cheapest type of authentication that's already embedded into an amazing amount of software, so our culture is just used to it. But they're weak because people choose easy passwords, they share the passwords, they write them down, somebody can figure them out, they're easily cracked. So one way you can try to enforce that your users use more complex passwords is to have a password generator. And this is actually a piece of software that will generate a complex password. You set how many letters and if you want upper and lower and symbols and all that, and it's going to generate a complex password. But the downfall is that people who have complex passwords, what are they going to do? They're going to write them down because they're not going to remember. So a lot of users will write down their passwords, and where are they going to keep them? They're going to hide them under the keyboard because nobody ever looks there, or they actually stick it on the monitor so that they can see it when they need it. So that's a common thing. If it's too complex, users are going to write them down because they can't remember them. Now, most of us know what should go into making a secure password. And the best practices are that it's at least 8 characters, you're using upper and lower letters, they're not words, and we're going to talk about why they shouldn't actually be words. They're not shared, they have a proper lifetime, so you don't use the same password for 2 years. You know, the history, how long a password is good should be based on the sensitivity of the data that it's protected. So you may refresh your password every 90 days, maybe every 60 days. In some environments that require high security, top secret stuff, you know, they'll change their password maybe each day or every 5 days. We need to have the password history, which means that somebody can't use the same password over and over again when they have to change it. And a lot of times the software that's the authentication software, you can configure it, and the common history number is 10. So the user can't use the same passwords for the 10 passwords that they have to use. So when they change it, it has to be a new password. And also there's acceptable failed logins. We need to configure that if somebody logs in or tries to authenticate, they put in the wrong password, that they can't keep doing it over and over again until they get in. That would be a brute force where somebody tries over and over and over again until it's successful. So in the software we usually have configuration that you can, after a certain number of failed logins, the account is suspended for maybe 20 minutes, maybe 2 hours, or maybe the account's suspended indefinitely, which requires the administrator to actually unlock it. And then, of course, all of this should be audited. The unique user account, time, date, what applications are being accessed. So these, you know, a lot of people have heard what they're supposed to do with passwords, and it seems as though, since we all know it, passwords would be very strong. But the reason that we have to keep saying the same things over and over again is because people use passwords like the name of their dog or the favorite football team. When I've done assessments for the government, and after hours, it depends on the type of assessment we do, but after hours you can go into somebody's office and just kind of look around, and if figure out what they like. If there's a certain football team they really like, then that's what you're actually going to try to break their password. Or if somebody has a bunch of horses, you know, pictures of horses. So it's usually somebody picks something that's interesting in their life. So, you know, passwords is just the help desk and the administrator and people who are in the network will tell you that it's a constant support issue. And that's why when we get into identity management, we're going to look at the actual technologies that has been developed so that people can reset their passwords, or there's some way to not always have to call the support help desks when somebody forgets their password.